In the baseball world, we're always looking for comparisons, especially when a player reaches a level of dominance that feels historic. And right now, New York Yankees slugger Aaron Judge is doing something we haven't seen consistently in baseball in 2 decades. He's hitting like Barry Bonds. Think about that for a second. Barry Bonds, the home run king, a man who inspired fear in pitchers unlike anyone else. Aaron Judge, a kid who grew up a Giants fan, watching Bonds chase history. Judge knows the legend. He remembers Bonds' sheer dominance, the towering blasts, and yes, the intentional walks. As Judge himself recalled about watching Bonds, he'd get intentionally walked. Then walked again. Next night, couple more walks. Then all of a sudden, in his third at bat, they'd maybe throw a changeup on the corner, and he'd drive it out to the opposite field. Fast forward 20 years, and Aaron Judge is doing his best impression of that kind of fear-inducing dominance. Look at his performance over his last 162 games, effectively a full season stretch. Judge boasts a 1.264 OPS. That is the best season-long stretch of offense by any player in the post-Bonds era. Heading into play recently, the 2-time MVP was leading Major League Baseball in virtually every significant offensive category: home runs, batting average, on-base percentage, slugging percentage, total bases, and wins above replacement. He's not just the best hitter in baseball right now, statistically. He's the best we've seen since Barry Bonds was at his peak. Yet, despite all these striking similarities, despite the sheer terror he must instill in opposing pitchers and managers, there is one massive piece of Barry Bonds' game that simply has not carried over to Aaron Judge's: the intentional walk. This is where the comparison gets truly fascinating and leads to a bit of a baseball mystery. At the peak of his powers in 2004, Barry Bonds was intentionally walked a record mind-boggling 120 times. In the 3 seasons before that, all MVP campaigns for Bonds, he averaged 55 intentional walks per year. Compare that to Aaron Judge. Over his current 162-game run of brilliance, a stretch where he's putting up Bonds' in OPS numbers, Aaron Judge has been intentionally walked just 24 times. The disparity becomes even more glaring when you look at high-leverage situations. Late in games, with runners on base, where putting the go-ahead or tying run on is a huge strategic decision. Over his past 162 games, Judge has come up in 47 plate appearances as the tying or go-ahead run in the 7th inning or later. He was intentionally walked in just 8 of those instances. That's a 17% clip. Barry Bonds, during his reign of terror in 2004, came up in 64 such high-leverage scenarios. He was intentionally walked in 25 of them. That's an outrageous 43.8% rate. So, the question is obvious. If Aaron Judge is the closest thing we've seen to Bonds' level of dominance, if he's inspiring similar fear, why are teams so much more willing to pitch to him compared to how they treated Barry Bonds? Conversations with players, coaches, and insiders around baseball reveal it's not just one thing, but a confluence of factors. Some about the players, but many about how the game itself has changed. First, there's a fundamental shift in strategy. The intentional walk as a tactic has actually been on a gradual decline over the past 50 years, peaking in the late 1960s. While there's been a slight uptick recently, perhaps influenced by Judge and Shohei Ohtani, the 2023 season saw the lowest rate of intentional walks per plate appearance since 1930. Part of this is the universal designated hitter rule implemented in 2022. Teams can no longer simply walk a dangerous hitter to get to a weak hitting pitcher in the National League. But there's also a philosophical change. As Rays manager Kevin Cash, who recently chose to face Judge in a key late-game situation, put it, the cost of putting a guy on base is probably a little bit more valued in today's game than it was back then. Teams are more wary of giving the opposition a free base runner. Another massive factor here is the evolution of bullpens. The last decade has seen a huge increase in hard-throwing, strikeout-oriented relief pitchers who are specialists in high-leverage innings. Guys capable of hitting triple digits and racking up strikeouts. These relievers are built and conditioned to come in and face the opposing team's best hitter in the biggest moments. The mindset of managers and pitchers has changed. Instead of thinking, "I need to avoid this guy," They're thinking, "I've got a guy on the mound who can get this guy out." As Kevin Cash noted, the mindset of just intentionally walking someone to avoid being beaten has changed. It really has. Second, the ballparks play a role. When Bonds was drawing those unprecedented walk totals in 2004, he played half his games at AT&T Park in San Francisco, which was known as a pitcher's paradise, particularly deep to center field with thick, heavy air. Aaron Judge, meanwhile, calls Yankee Stadium home, with its famous short porch in right field. Judge is a right-handed hitter, and he almost always has a left-handed hitter following him in the lineup. The odds of a left-handed hitter like Ben Rice or Austin Wells hitting a fly ball that just gets out to right field at Yankee Stadium are simply much higher than the odds were of players hitting behind Bonds in the much bigger San Francisco park. While the hitters themselves might grade out similarly when adjusted for the era, the ballpark is a significant difference maker in the calculus of whether to pitch to the guy in front of them. Third, handedness matters. Barry Bonds hit left-handed. Aaron Judge hits right-handed. When the pitcher and the hitter are same-sided, righty versus righty or lefty versus lefty, the pitcher typically has a slight advantage. Since there are significantly more right-handed pitchers in baseball than left-handed pitchers, Aaron Judge, a righty, is more likely to face a right-handed pitcher who has that platoon advantage. Bonds, as a lefty, would force managers to often bring in a lefty reliever specifically to gain the platoon advantage against him. That tactical move, bringing in a lefty specifically for Bonds, often made the intentional walk a more palatable option than letting a righty face him, especially in the late innings. While it seems like a small detail, over a full season, it adds up in those high-leverage decision points. Finally, and perhaps most controversially to some, there's the argument that while Judge is the closest thing we've seen, Barry Bonds in his absolute peak was simply operating on a completely different level of hitting godlike status. Look at the numbers again. In 2004, Bonds struck out a minuscule 6.6% of the time. Judge is having the best strikeout season of his career right now, and he's still punching out 21% of the time. Bonds was regularly posting slugging percentages north of .800. Judge's incredible 162-game stretch features a .786 slugging percentage. While Judge's numbers are historic for this era, Bonds' peak was almost statistically alien. Kevin Cash, who actually played against Bonds, summed it up with a classic anecdote, grinning as he told the story. "I'm catching. We were going to walk him, but the only thing we were allowed to do was throw 4 fastballs on the black away. Catcher set up away. Pat Hentgen is pitching. We go. Boom, boom, boom. 3-0. I'm a rookie. I looked at him. I said, 'Barry, you got the green light here?' And he goes, 'Kid, 19 years in this league. I got whatever F***ing light I want.'" That story perfectly captures the aura, the confidence, the sheer fear Bonds inspired. So, the mystery of why Aaron Judge isn't intentionally walked like Barry Bonds isn't really a single mystery at all. It's a complex mix of factors, a league-wide shift in strategic thinking valuing base runners more, the rise of dominant, specialized bullpens built to face stars, the specific dimensions of their home ballparks, the subtle advantage of handedness, and maybe, just maybe, the idea that even comparing historical greats, Barry Bonds' peak was so statistically off the charts it forced teams into unprecedented measures like 120 intentional walks. Regardless of the walk totals, what Aaron Judge is doing right now is historically great, and a testament to his own brand of fear-inspiring dominance in the modern game.